Buenos días a todos, mi nombre es Zulema Chavero y tendré el honor de moderar esta mesa redonda con la concejal de la ciudad, Jamie Casot Sánchez. Y antes de cederle la palabra a la concejal, me gustaría agradecer a nuestros oficiales electos el haberse tomado el tiempo para conversar con nuestros miembros sobre este tema tan importante en nuestra comunidad, días de enfermedad pagados. En esta ocasión nos acompañan el senador Peter Wirth, la senadora Nancy Rodríguez, la representante Tara Luján, la representante Linda Cerrato, el alcalde de la ciudad de Santa Fe, Alan Weber, los concejales de la ciudad, Romana Beita y René Villarreal.
Councilor René Villarreal and Hank Hughes, Commissioner Hank Hughes, and Ana Hansen from the Worker Center of Somos un Pueblo Unido, Lucero España, Teresa, Jesús Ramírez, and Isabel Barreras. Welcome all of you, and in continuation, Jamie Casal Sanchez will be talking to you. She's going to speak to you. Go ahead, Councilor. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Zulema. Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Jamie Casat Sanchez. I am a city councilor representing District 4 here in the city of Santa Fe. And I am also a public health professional. I hold a master's in public health. So I am very excited to be here to be discussing a topic that I am very passionate about, which is paid sick leave. I am very pleased to have my fellow representatives here from the city, as well as representatives from the county and the state to discuss the bill that is being proposed, as well as where we can see how this can benefit our community. I did want to mention before we get started that this entire presentation will be posted in English on Somos un Pueblos Unidos' Facebook page and YouTube channel directly after we have concluded. So right now, I know on Facebook people are seeing it in Spanish, but you will be able to view the entire roundtable in English as soon as we are finished. We'll go ahead and get started. I want to pass it on to Representative Rubio, who represents House District 35, and who is one of the sponsors of this very exciting bill. So Representative, I will pass it on to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Angélica Rubio y soy representante del Distrito 35, que representa la ciudad de Las Cruces, aquí en el sur de Nuevo México. Estoy muy orgullosa para estar aquí con ustedes para hablar de esta póliza que estamos.
I'm very proud to be with you about this policy that we want to introduce. This year has been very long and it has gone very fast. And I don't know how that can happen, long and fast, but that's the way it is.
I represent District 35 here in the great city of Las Cruces in southern New Mexico. And I am really humbled and excited to be here with you all today to talk about the paid sick leave bill that will be introduced at the legislative session next month. I'm really, this is probably one of the most important bills that I will not only introduce, but that I will work with a number of legislators on, because as many of you know, and I don't have to probably tell you, is that COVID has unveiled to us a number of inequities, one specifically on how so many of our workers have been put in direct contact of a global pandemic without the kind of supports that they are entitled to and that they deserve. And so this issue about paid sick leave is a long time coming. There have been people who have been working on this issue at a local level for such a long time. And right now it's now time for the state of New Mexico, our legislature and our governor to do something about that. And paid sick leave would be the bill that could address a lot of these inequities. There's four basic ideas for the framework of the paid sick leave bill. And they're pretty simple. One is coverage. And so that means that all employers shall provide paid sick leave to all its workers who work at least 56 hours in a year. This would include part-time, seasonal, temporary basis. And I want to emphasize seasonal because, as many of you know, we have a lot of farm workers who are a lot of times left out of a lot of these policies. And so this is something that's very dear to me and to my heart, because My parents were farm workers. My dad, as an 83-year-old man, is still working on the farm. And so these are issues very much important to me. And so that's the way that the coverage would work. Accrual, that basically means workers earn 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours. So this is an important piece that we want to make sure that it not only gets introduced into the original bill, but that it stays through until it passes. Like our whole purpose is to make sure that this legislation passes next month in the legislative session. The third piece of the framework of the paid sick leave bill is that you can accrue up to 56 hours per year. This is really important also to understand because so many of our workers right now, especially in the middle of this global pandemic, are going to work sick because they're afraid that they're going to lose their jobs. And I think the biggest piece around this piece of legislation is that no one should have to choose between their health and providing for their families. And so this bill helps to support not only their quality of life and making sure that they're taking care of themselves, but that they also know that they have a paycheck to count on if and when they do get sick. And lastly is enforcement. And this is the piece that we will need so many of you all to continue to support as we move forward with this legislation. The state of New Mexico, if this bill passes and becomes law, would be required to investigate complaints and enforce the ordinance. A lot of times we get these bills passed, but they have very little teeth. Enforcement is very minimal. And so a lot of times when workers specifically ask or want an investigation to happen, rarely do they ever happen. So this is probably one of the biggest pieces around this legislation is that we need this ordinance to be enforced. This is a really big issue for many of us, and I am incredibly honored to be able to share the space with so many legislators across the state, legislators-elect who will be sworn in next month, as well as many in our city councils across the state, as well as our county commissioners and advocates who have been working on this issue for many, many years. One thing that I want to tell, y les quiero decir a los que están oyendo,
What I want to tell those of you who are listening this presentation, your stories are very important. I know legislators that are very direct, and they're not going to vote with one piece of legislature, but at the end, once they have heard your very powerful stories, they change their mind. So not only today, but in the future, I'm advising you.
Your stories are so powerful. I have seen legislators who have had their votes completely change because of a powerful story that they just heard from a worker or a family member who has direct impact to this issue. And so I ask you all that after today and that through the next few weeks ahead, please reach out to as many people as you can to be able to share their stories and to make sure that this piece of legislation not only stays intact throughout the legislative session, but that it gets to the governor and that she signs it into law. And so with that, thank you all so much for all your help and all your support. And I look forward to hopefully meeting each and every one of you in person one of these days. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, representante.
Thank you very much, Representative Angelica Rubio. Angelica Rubio is one of our champions in the legislature. She is always supporting the community, the working immigrant community, and we thank her for the explanation that she just gave us. The pandemic really exacerbated the basic necessity. It made us understand what is important about the economy and public health. A strong economy is based on a worker, and the needs are to stabilize our financial. We have been learning from the workers that they're always trying to work, so not to lose their jobs, or to take care of our health or their people in their family. At continuation, one of our members of the worker center is going to share its stories with you. And we're going to talk to Teresa Ultreras. She took her lunch hour to give us her testimony.
Buenos días.
Good morning. Mhm.
Mi nombre es Teresa Ultreras.
My name is Teresa Ultreras. I am the member of the Worker Center Somos un Pueblo Unido. I'm married to Francisco, and we both work, and we have a daughter of 6 years old. He works for a bus company, and he started feeling sick. The 30th of October, he got very sick. He had a high fever, so I had to take him to the emergency room. And at the same day, they gave him the COVID test, and he was positive. We had to leave him there in the hospital. And then my daughter and I did the test, and we were positive. I left my I left my work for 15 days, and they did pay me my sick leave, but not to my husband. From the 15th of October to the present, my husband did not get any paid leave, sick paid leave. 2 months have gone by, and my husband has been in the hospital 3 times, 1 here and 2 in Albuquerque. And and he hasn't been able to work. This situation has affected us a lot, both emotionally and economically. Our debts are accumulating. What I earn is not enough for my rent, or I can pay some of the bills, but I can't pay the credit card since my husband doesn't have a health insurance. We're getting all the invoices from the hospital. If my husband had paid sick leave, our situation would be different. But at least we would be worried about his health, but not about our economic situation. Because of this, we're asking you officials, to support this new proposal, this new bill, to help us with medical paid leave. It's a basic right that all workers should have, because we are the ones that maintain the economy of our communities. We're loyal to our employers, and we work very hard. Thank you very much, and I ask you for very strong support to the community that works and doesn't have the sick paid leaves. It would hurt the families and the workers, so they wouldn't be so stressed. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much for sharing your story. I know that it's very difficult to talk about these things. Now we're going to Lucero, España, who is another member of our Workers Center. Good afternoon. My name is Lucero, España. I'm a member of the Workers. These months have been very difficult. I'm sorry about this dog. I have an 8-month-old baby. I haven't been able to go back to work because my workplace was closed. My baby and I got sick of the COVID. I was 1 week here in home with a lot of back pain, with fever, and my baby. I had to get up to help my baby, which is the principal part, but it is very ugly. This sickness is terrible. My husband had to stay with us. He had to leave his job for 2 weeks. I had a lot of pain for 1 week. My baby had a very high fever. He won't sleep at 1 or 2. I would put her to a bath to try and lower her temperature. The doctor said that was fine because there was nothing else to do. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was also praying, asking God, if this fever, if this fever doesn't go down, I'm going to call 911. But thank God, I gave her another bath about 4:30 in the morning. But thank God, my husband and the fever went down. My husband didn't get sick, but they don't pay him the sick leave. But he had to stay here for 2 weeks so that to not expose anybody else. The savings we had when our baby was born went down very fast because we have to work from day to day to support the basic needs that we have. My my husband lost his job. I don't work. It's very hard to be in this situation. I really ask you to pass this bill. We are workers that are struggling, that we want to work, but we also get sick. We try not to get sick because if we don't work, we can't support the daily thing. Thank you very much, Lucero, to share your testimony. It's so important. Thank you. Now we're going to go to another one of your members so that we all have time to share our experiences. They're very difficult to talk about. Now I'm going to Bellanira Solano. Good morning. My name is Bellanira Lozano. I am a member of the Worker Center of Somos Un Pueblo Unido. I have lived in New Mexico 22 years. I'm a mother of 4 kids, a single mother of 4 kids. I've never had sick leave, paid sick leave. It was very hard when my children were young, and when they had medical appointments, I couldn't take out time to take them to these appointments. I would either, I had to give up a day of pay to go take them to their appointments. When sometimes at some jobs, they let me go because I took time off to take my kids to the doctor. These situations have affected me psychologically and emotionally. If we don't have medical paid leave, we don't have money, and we can't contribute to the economy. We can't pay our bills, and sometimes we can't even pay with the basic needs like food. In September, I came out positive, and I had to be in quarantine for 14 days, and I never got paid for those days. We need a law that protects us and make us feel secure, just like we contribute to the industry where we work. We need to be also protected during the bad, difficult times. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bellanira. Now we're going to Isabel Barreras.
¿Sí se encuentra Isabel Barreras?
Isabel, ¿ahí estás?
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Mi nombre es Isabel Barrera. ¿Sí me escuchan? Sí. Mi nombre es
My name is Isabel Barreras. I'm a member of the Worker Center of Somos Un Pueblo Unido. I have lived in Santa Fe for 13 years. Since I arrived, I started working with my husband in a Chinese restaurant. We had earned a little bit of money and had problems with the language because I needed my work. I continued working and I wanted to earn a little bit more because that wasn't enough. They gave me a higher salary, but not enough. I could not live in, I could not pay for everything that I need. I didn't have any benefits like paid sick leave. We didn't know anything about the workers' rights until I called Somos Un Pueblo Unido. My husband and I got sick. My husband and I got sick with COVID, and we thought that when we told our employer, oh, I'm sorry. That's fine, Isabel. Just take your time. We thought that our employer would be kind to us and she would pay us for the time that we were sick.
Pero no fue así.
But it wasn't like that. We tried to talk to her, and the answer was that we shouldn't come back to our job, to our work. We did not need to come back. Now, she doesn't even answer our phone calls.
Disculpe.
I'm sorry. This has affected us so much economically and psychologically. We're very frustrated. We have no money to pay for our bills, our rent, to help our families, our family that depends on us. That's why I'm asking to please support this bill of the paid sick leave to all the work, for all workers. Thank you very much, Isabel, for your testimony. I know it's very difficult. And now we're going to Jesus Ramirez. Thank you, Isabel.
Hola, mi nombre es Jesús.
Hello, my name is Jesus Ramirez. I am a member of the Workers Center of Somos Un Pueblo. I've lived in Santa Fe for 13 years. I worked and paid my taxes. I'm gonna tell you briefly what happened in my workplace. After my employer found out that I turned out positive of the COVID-19, I was working on an animal store for 2 years. But one day I got sick and I told my supervisor, and he told me that maybe I was just tired. He forced me to continue working. I worked 2 days until until I realized it wasn't that I was tired, and that I got the test and I was positive. And that's when I got very scared because I thought I was going to lose my job. I was in a quarantine for the days that the health department requires. Before finishing the quarantine, my employer called me to tell me that I didn't have a job. I didn't qualify for any of the relief because even though I have contributed with my taxes and even though my children are Americans, I could not receive anything. That's why I'm supporting this bill, because if not, all we can do is continue working even when we're sick. Thank you, Jesus. These are all the testimonies of our Worker Center.
Thank you, everybody, so much for those testimonies. As Representative Rodriguez mentioned, Representative Rubio mentioned that it really does bring home the issue and illustrates why this is so important in a way that I don't feel can be represented otherwise. So thank you so much. I know that it was very hard to share those, and we deeply appreciate you taking the time to really show us what this looks like in the real world and in our community. We are going to now give the opportunity to some of our state legislators to speak. We're going to be starting with Senator Peter Worth, represents Senate District 25 and is also our Senate Majority Leader. So Senator Worth.
Gracias. Buenas tardes a todos. Me llamo
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Peter Worth, and I'm one of the senators here in Santa Fe. The Senator Nancy Rodriguez also in this Zoom. My Spanish is more or less, so I'm going to speak English, but very slowly.
English slowly so that it can be translated. I just wanted to jump on to this Zoom to let you all know that I certainly fully support the bill that Representative Rubio has put together and you all are working on. So this will have bipartisan support. In the recent special session in November, we had a challenging debate on the floor about essential workers that make less than $15 an hour. And there was a political amendment that attempted to divide us and take money away from those who are unemployed, which is the money that was going out in that bill. And when we were debating that amendment, I thought about two things. One was sick leave for these essential workers. And second, how, disingenuous it was for the arguments to be made that those making less than $15 needed a supplement. Let's give them $15 an hour as a wage, as a starting point. So, it opened up a discussion that we're going to continue to have. And I just wanted to jump on and let you all know that we are going to certainly push for this legislation and work hard on it. And again, I want to thank Representative Rubio for the work she's done and the lead that's been taken. So I've got to jump off here, juggling lots of things, but just wanted to be with all of you and share those thoughts. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us and for those words and for letting us know what we're fighting for this legislative season. So I'd now like to introduce, Senator Nancy Rodriguez, my senator. So thank you for representing me, and from Senate District 24.
Thank you, Jamie. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much to all of you who presented today. The reality presenters, this is a real problem. And very soon we have to do a lot to correct this great problem that is affecting the families, not only the poor families and the working families, but even all the families, the parents, the children, the grandparents. It's affecting everybody. Everybody is suffering a lot, and we can do it. We can do it to correct this large problem. Estoy en un rincón. I'm in a corner, support corner for you all.
I see some of you that I have met before at the state capitol. Algunos de ustedes han ido a visitarme en mi oficina, en el capital.
Some of you have come to visit me at the office, and I can see you, and I wish I can see you again in person.
For inviting me and asking me to weigh in with a few words in this matter of paid sick leave for employees. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today, for listening in and contributing to this important potential solution, for a doable solution. We can end, together we can end this problem. This pandemic has brought to light many more ways in which we have to think proactively and, more importantly, collectively together as a community. If we are going to resonate, and truly going to resonate as a Somos un Pueblo Unido in New Mexico, then we need to streamline our system of inclusion and the way we do business in general. I am a member of the Legislative Health Committee, and many of you may remember, if you were in attendance, I think there were quite a few, we heard a presentation on this initiative of paid sick leave for employees. And thanks to Representative Rubio, who has worked incessantly to try and get this legislation passed, we heard some very good information. Though the legislation was not ready for endorsement, I was ready to speak in favor of this initiative because it is long overdue. I believe that all, and I underline twice, all employees, not just government workers, should have an opportunity to get paid sick leave. Whose choice is it to get sick leave, to get sick and not have sick leave? Not be able to go home and tend to your families, not be able to go see a doctor. Who wants to be with a headache at work and know that you're getting a fever and have to make a decision whether you should remain there at work miserable because you can't afford your paycheck to be lower, or you can't buy groceries or pay gas for your car, buy new tires, or clothes for your children, or food for your table? No one should be in that situation. I believe that a healthy business is a business with healthy employees. That's a healthy business. Healthy employees are the strength of a robust work environment, a robust business sector. They are the resilience that is relied upon, and the resilience that is crucial when trials of this vast magnitude that confront us, such as this pandemic, hits us. When something like this hits us, we realize how serious it is, what the crucial things are, and where our resilience is. It's in our workers, in our employees. Ultimately, both employees and business will flourish when working in unison. And I am hopeful that this year, this coming year, this legislative year, we will be able to pass legislation to require paid sick leave for all employees. I looked at the legislation, mostly the words, the analysis, and the summary that were presented during the committee meeting where this presentation was made. And although the legislation wasn't fully prepared yet, as I said, it was in the works, and we got to see a synopsis of what is in this legislation. It all made very good sense to me. I actually suggested one of the provisions when I saw the wording and the analysis for it, the talking points that would allow employees to carry over the hours at the end of the year. If you have 56 hours, then you should be able to carry them over to the next year and not have to lose those hours. To me, that would be a penalty for working and being a very loyal and committed employee. So I saw last night as I was reviewing some of the changes, I did see that that was one of the things included, at least in the talking points. I haven't seen the actual legislation. I don't know if it's been drafted, but I know the talking points reflect what's in the legislation. I also suggested something that I don't know if it's in there or not, and perhaps maybe can be reviewed. And that is that we give the employees the opportunity and the flexibility to share your hours. If one employee gets, if you've earned just say 30, 40, even 56 hours at the end of the year, perhaps you haven't had to use them, but there are others within your work environment that have had a great tragedy, an ailment that they need more time off for them or their family. Perhaps you can have the flexibility to share those hours. There's nothing wrong with that. After all, we are a community and we all care about each other. So I will leave you with that, but I want you to know that I think this proposal is very reasonable and it's long overdue. Let's stay together. Let's continue to fight for it and let's get it passed so that soon we will see things changed and we will be celebrating the new changes and the new approach to give employees their sick leave that they deserve when necessary. Thank you. Gracias. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
So much, Senator Rodriguez. I very much appreciated your very thorough thoughts about this bill and how much you are championing this issue. Next, I would like to introduce Representative Tarlu Han, who represents House District 48 here in Santa Fe. Representative.
Gracias a todo que estás aquí.
Thank you for everyone who's here.
It's a very heartfelt place I come from. I come to you today with, and I want to thank. Gracias, Somos. Gracias.
Thank you to Somos. Thank you for Representative Rubio.
I have worked alongside you, so to speak, in the restaurant industry as a working mother at a time where I had an infant child. I understand not having those benefits in place. I understand what it means to go to work sick because I had to live paycheck to paycheck and not have any benefits. So I share that with you. I share that experience with you and how hard and the hardship of it. And, your stories you told us today just have touched me. And I also sat on the interim committee with the Senator Rodriguez and others while you presented this legislation to us over the interim. And I'm glad that Senator Rodriguez touched on the amendment she found there to carry over those hours. I have recently been a human resources director for the state of New Mexico. And I've worked in management positions, but I've worked in all across the board as a working blue collar person. And the essential need for this provision, and we'll talk about the others as they come along down the road to protect our workers, to protect our families, to establish the essentialness of having those benefits in place is critical, and like Senator Rodriguez said, way overdue. This has been a matter for me. I actually proposed it, the restaurant industry that I worked in, and was politely patted on the head and turned away at that time because I come from a fierce mother who works in labor rights and worked as a labor union president in her time as a nurse in our community here in Santa Fe. And she fought for those rights and those benefits during the negotiations when they were prohibited or not given. So this is essential to us. And we know that when we have healthy working families, we have a healthier economy. We establish just the essentialness for what it means to have a workforce that we respect, that we care for and we provide for. we are looking through everything right now because of COVID and the pandemic. And more than ever, we know that there have been some provisions put in from the federal government, but like in our testimonials and like we've said, and I've been there as a working family, we're afraid to report or to decline the work that we have. Even during a pandemic, we're afraid to call in sick, to say, because we need the paycheck, or we're afraid that we're going to be fired. It's unacceptable. It's past due. I support this bill 110% or more. And I just want to really thank you, Representative Rubio and Somos, and all the families that came here today and spoke to us and gave us your testimonies. That we are way past time to get this done. And there's still more to do. There's always going to be more to do. And you have my support for those issues as well. We do have federal regulations in place, but it doesn't cover our small businesses and it doesn't our employers. And I want to say to our employers, there are opportunities for us all to come together and work on this. We know through other legislation too, that there are provisions that we can put in place so that everybody can be have safe workplaces and safe economies, so to speak, because we are looking at what's going on because of this pandemic. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me here today. You saw my daughter here. I have to leave as well, like Senator Worth. We have a dentist appointment here shortly. So gracias a todo. Esta es la oportunidad y somos listos aquí en Nuevo México para esa legislación. Es esencial para todos. Gracias y adiós. Have a wonderful and safe holiday season. Gracias.
And we will miss you for the rest of the time, but enjoy the dentist. And last, I would like to introduce Representative Linda Serrato, who represents House District 45, also my representative. I'm very honored to have you represent me and very honored to see you here today to speak to this important issue.
Mil gracias para todos los historias.
Thank you for all your stories. I am Linda Serrato, and I'm a representative from District 45.
My neighbor and friend, Councilor Cassett-Sanchez and Councilor Abeda. It's wonderful to see both of you here. And I'm sorry, Councilor Villaraigosa, good to see you here as well. I wanted to take a minute to say thank you to everyone's stories. It goes without saying that we are a united Santa Fe in very many ways. And having had individual conversations with a number of the representatives and elected leaders here, I can say we've heard your voices raised through Somos and through our community. And it illuminates, it's so important to us in illuminating how this resonates in our communities. When I first came out for the seat, we came out talking about paid sick leave. And when I'd knock on doors and talk to people, they would repeat it back to me because this is something that is so essential and that we've waited for so long. But the fact is, we don't have to be defensive about this. We don't have to worry about this because the math is on our side. Our economy needs paid sick leave to survive this pandemic and beyond. It is important for workers. It is important for small businesses. It is important for our state and our nation that people take time off and they don't infect other people. That people stay home and take care of their children when they need to, because that helps the next generation. This is not just something that your stories matter, but the math isn't on their side. They can't outsmart us on this because it is on our terms now that they have hurt us for too long. I want to make that really clear. My own mother is a 70-year-old woman who works at a hospital still amidst COVID. And she goes to work every day because she's still scared to lose her job. That's not okay during a pandemic that directly affects her. And especially in our district, I have the honor and the privilege to represent 87507 and 87505. And in our communities, this is hitting harder because our families are multi-generational. We take care of each other because we need to. And so when someone gets sick, they bring it home. We need to limit that spread, and that's more important than anything else. So I just want to make sure that you know that this isn't a losing battle. This is a winning battle because the math is for us, and you deserve that. All of your hard work deserves economic security. Our communities, our families do better when we know that just because we get sick, just because we care about our children or our parents, that doesn't mean that we are weak as a community. It means we are stronger because we are still dedicated. The conversation that you all brought to us today was about how important it was for you to work, how much you prioritized work, and we shouldn't punish that. We should honor that with paid sick and honoring all your work. So I do want to thank my colleague, Representative Rubio, for all of her work that she's already done on this and bringing this forward already, and all of the work of everyone here, really organizing, because it has made a difference, and that now we can look, and I expect the opposition to see a tidal wave on the other side. So thank you for all of your work.
Thank you so much, Representative Serrato. Thank you so much to all of our state legislators. Thank you for your voices. Thank you for your support on this issue. And thank you for your vote on this issue, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And we are so grateful that you are championing such an important issue for our community. Zulema, I will pass it on to you.
Muchas gracias, concejal. Y gracias a los legisladores por el apoyo.
And thank you for all our legislature for your support to this initiative. We also have our local authorities that in these very difficult times, they continue supporting our working. It is my honor to give you the word to Mayor Alan Weber. Please go ahead, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here with everyone from Somos, all the workers whose stories were so powerful and moving, with my colleagues from the City Council, our colleagues from the County Commission, the state senators and state representatives. What a phenomenal group of individuals who are standing on the right side of this issue and on the right side of history. If one thing has been made clear to us by COVID-19, it is that this pandemic is more than a medical and health emergency. It's a social emergency. It is a family emergency. It is an emergency of justice and equity. And it has really ripped the Band-Aid off of something we have been too slow to address. And that is the disparity that has been put onto the lives of our workers. People who go every single day to keep our economy going, to keep our community going, have been severely punished by COVID and have been punished before COVID. And now it's time to change that. And it is absolutely essential that we back this bill, that we stand united in support of our workers. And as Representative Serrato accurately says, that we not only bring the human stories that are so touching and so moving and so powerful to this issue, but also cite the data, because the numbers are on our side. Representative Serrato is right. Everyone does better when everyone does better. Our companies do better, our economy does better, our neighborhoods do better, our families do better, our entire city does better. This is an issue that stretches across New Mexico, and it's beautiful to see Las Cruces joining hands with Santa Fe and reaching all across New Mexico, because this is an issue that has to be done, has to be taken on at the state level, has to be something that is provided for everyone in New Mexico. This session is the session to fix this problem, to move forward with more rights, more recognition, more support for the working men and women of New Mexico who keep us active and healthy with their labor. We need to reward them with our support. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you and to stand with you and to support this measure. It is the work of New Mexico to provide paid sick leave for New Mexicans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for your support to our working families. We really appreciate all the support that we get from our elected officials on these important issues. A continuación, le voy a ceder la palabra a otra concejal, la concejal René Villarreal, para que sí, nos hable sobre este tema. Adelante, concejal.
Gracias, Zulema. Y muchísimas gracias a Teresa, Lucero, Deyanira, Isabel, Jesús, por compartir sus testimonios. Todos son muy valientes y y sus familias son importantes. And I know we know from this conversation and beyond that COVID has exacerbated the inequities around the health and well-being of our communities in New Mexico. And based on the testimonials and the testimony that we heard today, it is very obvious that no one should have to compromise their health, the health of their families, the health of others, because they don't have a secure and strong safety net. And I think with medical paid leave, this gives us an opportunity to be able to make things right, to make things more equitable. I think many of us, those out there in Facebook Landia, and even on this in this Zoom, is that a lot of us have jobs that there is sick leave and we take that for granted, knowing that we can fall back on that, and most people do not. So I think this is just a very important issue, and I applaud Representative Angelica Rubio, who's always had the political will and the boldness to take on tough issues, which shouldn't be tough issues, but to others, they seem like they're not possible, but they are. So thank you, Angelica, for all the work as you move forward through this. And of course, Somos un Pueblo Unido for holding the space to talk about this, to be able to hold the space of the stories of the folks and the people that are with us today and beyond. There's so many voices out there that we don't get to hear from. So thank you all. And how we can support at the municipal level this effort. There's always pushback, and I think it's pretty obvious, not just from COVID, but that these are the things that we should be working on so that our economy can thrive. Because when we have healthy workers, we have healthy economies. Thank you all for having me today, and adelante con el trabajo.
Muchísimas gracias, concejal Villarreal. Apreciamos mucho sus palabras y su apoyo a la comunidad. Y muy cierto, tenemos que trabajar en estos temas. A continuación, le voy a ceder la palabra al concejal Román Abeita. Adelante, concejal.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for bringing this important issue to light. As someone who represents the South Side, this is really near and dear to my heart and something that we are all being affected by with COVID. But I really want to thank Representative Rubio for bringing this initiative forward. And I agree wholeheartedly with Senator Rodriguez. As someone who runs an organization with 35 employees, and we sometimes go up to twice that amount in the summer, healthy workplace is a safe workplace. And if you are a business or a company that takes care of your employees, that is probably the #1 key to success in running any kind of organization. And so I just, I support this as with everything I've got, not just from an employer's perspective, but again, a city councilor who represents many essential employees in the city of Santa Fe. Thank you again for having me.
Muchas gracias, concejal, por sus palabras. A continuación, también tenemos nos acompañan comisionados del condado de Santa Fe. Se encuentra con nosotros el comisionado Hank Hughes. Le paso la palabra.
Gracias a todos y gracias a Somos un Pueblo Unido. And that's about the extent of my Spanish. So thank you very much for inviting me. I don't think I could add very much to what's been said. This is obviously a very important bill. It's way overdue. I've always wondered why we didn't have a law requiring paid sick leave, and I'm always amazed that employers don't just do it as a matter of course. I know, as also running an organization like Councilor Abeta, You know, I think sometimes I actually have to convince people to use their paid sick leave, but I can't imagine people who don't even have the option. Certainly, and I'm very glad that when Representative Rubio is bringing this forward, that it includes our farm workers and part-time workers, because that's very important. I know that many of our labor laws leave out farm workers, and I think that that's an injustice that we ought to all be concerned about. And finally, you know, I think there's a certain amount of self-interest even for those of us who get paid sick leave, because who wants to walk into a grocery store thinking that the clerks might be sick, or go to a restaurant where the cook might be sick? I'd much rather people take their paid sick leave and have paid sick leave. So certainly we will support this. I'm going to talk to Commissioner Hanson after this call and see if we can add this to the list of things that the county officially supports. I'm pretty sure that we will. Thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Muchísimas gracias, comisionado, por sus palabras y su apoyo a nuestra comunidad. A continuación, le cedo la palabra a la comisionada Hansen.
Buenos dias, everyone. Thank you so much for your stories. It is so important. Sick leave is something that I personally have never, ever had. And so I really understand the fear that everyone is suffering from, especially as a worker. I have always worked for myself. And so that has put me in a different situation of not having sick leave. But I want to also thank Representative Rubio for all the things that she is working on. I think that this is really important. I want to mention a few things that at the county, we do have where you can share sick leave. So if somebody at the county does get sick, they can, our HR director puts a notice up and asks other county employees to share their sick leave. So I think that is a really good provision. I think that is important because sometimes, even though 56 days might sound like a lot of time, with COVID, we know that people are now sick for months, and that's up to 2 months and 3 months. And so it's really important to make sure that we provide for these people. I also represent the 87507 and 87505 area code, where we know that COVID is rampant. I am grateful to Councilor Abeyta for the two of us who worked on a public awareness campaign with COVID. You know, the county and the city are both trying to help as many people work on this. The other thing that I think is really important to mention about paid sick leave is domestic violence. Domestic violence is a serious problem. Esperanza is in my district and something that I support very strongly. So this would be another way to help women who are suffering and being able to get out of their situation. And I want to just mention a few things with Representative Rubio and our senators who are on the phone. Also, is enforcement is so important, and not just in sick leave, but all throughout state and county and city government. Enforcement is something that we always seem to fall down on. We like write the rules, we write the legislation, we, you know, and it's not just here with sick leave, but it's with, you know, building and with code enforcement and all of those things. We get really stretched. And so to continue to add enforcement to this bill is really important to me, because I recognize that that is really necessary. I'm really honored to be on this call with everyone. I, of course, will work with Commissioner Hughes to add this to our list of items that we will support for legislation at the Roundhouse. And I do want to share also one other thing, that I have been serving on the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area. And as a board member of that organization, when I joined that organization, they had no policy for sick leave or in the contract with the people we hired. And that was one of the main things that I pushed for, to make sure that for our employees at the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area now, we have sick leave for all of our employees. And so I am very proud of that, because we all know how hard it is in Northern New Mexico, and especially during this pandemic. And so any way that we can all help one another, this is a way to do that. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for giving me a few moments to speak. I am a big supporter of Pueblos Unidos of Somos, and I believe in your mission, and thank you once again. And let's get this bill passed, and let's get sick leave. So thank you very, very much.
Muchísimas gracias, comisionada, por sus palabras, por su apoyo.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your support.
Our elected officials that were here today and that support this bill. And like many of you mentioned, it's been it's something that has to be done. It's way overdue. Y con eso voy a.
And with this, we're going to finish. We're finished with our elected officials. I want to tell the people who are listening to us that there's going to be a transmission in English, totally in English, after this video.
To all the people that are watching this video on Facebook, immediately after this meeting, we will have a full English translation available on Facebook or in YouTube. So I'm gonna pass the word to Councilor Jamie.
I did want to thank everybody again so much for being here. Thank you to our policymakers, and thank you to our members of Somos who have shared your stories. As I mentioned at the beginning, paid sick leave is a topic that I am very passionate about. I come from a public health background, and so I have always looked at this from a public health perspective and what it means for us to be able to provide the support so that our members of our community can live a good life, can take care of their family members, can take care of their children, can contribute to our community, can contribute to our economy. And sick leave, while it has been really highlighted during the COVID years, is something that has been a challenge in our community and in communities across the country for years and years. And we have seen too many times where individuals have to make a choice between keeping their job or taking care of themselves, between making enough money to pay for rent, to buy food, to pay for keeping the heat and the lights on, or taking care of a sick child, or being able to go to the doctor for those simple preventative health measures that make sure that we stay healthy and that we can continue to be with our families and go to our jobs and be members of our community, for taking care of individuals who are dealing with long-term health issues. I know that I spoke with a constituent whose husband had cancer, and she could not take the time off to go sit with him while he was receiving chemo infusions, and how hard that was to not be able to be there during these challenging times. Of course, this was pre-COVID. Now they would not be able to go anyway because of COVID, but we know that we will be moving out of COVID. And even during that time, it will still be crucial that every member of our community has the opportunity to work while also taking care of themselves, while also taking care of their family members, and while also protecting the rest of our community. We know that disease, as we have seen so frequently during this time, does not care. A virus does not care whether you have sick leave or not, and whether you are at work because you do not have the opportunity to stay home. It is going to spread anyway, and it is going to ravage our community. I am also a representative of 87505 and 87507. And I frequently have these conversations with individuals of why is our district, are these zip codes seeing such high numbers of COVID in Santa Fe? And I tell them there are numerous factors, but one of these pieces is so many of these individuals are going to work. These are our essential workers that are keeping our grocery stores open so that the rest of us can still be cooking at home. These are the individuals who are going to our restaurants so that we can be getting takeout. These are individuals that are working at our hospitals and working at our medical centers so that we can make sure that everybody is getting the care that they need during these challenging times. And so it is crucial that we take care of them. As Representative Serrato put so passionately and with such motivation, that the numbers are on our side, that a healthy workforce is a healthy economy. And we need this to make sure that we can recover our economy. And that a healthy workforce means a healthy workplace, and it means a healthy business. So I just want to thank everybody so much for being here, for sharing your stories, to all of our policymakers for your incredible support and speaking to the importance of this issue. But most importantly, it is the members of Somos and it is the other members of our community who have really raised their voices to say, this is important, this is what we need, this is what reality looks like when we don't have it, and it is time that you, our elected officials, change it. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you, Councilor, for your words. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for listening to our stories, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everything. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Tere.